The issue of national service is still a debate that's raging here in the UK. And if it really is a distraction away from Rishi Sunak's real reason for calling the general election, then it's a masterstroke, isn't it? Nobody's talking about anything else. So my question to you guys is this. If it came to it, would you allow your 18-year-old kid to go and serve? And I think I know the majority of answers before even looking at the comments on this video. But as for me personally, no, I wouldn't. Now, let's face it, recent conflicts we've been involved in have all been overseas. And I think the only one, in my personal opinion, that can be justified is the Falklands War back in the early 80s, where some South American despot invaded our territory and Margaret Thatcher dealt with him there and then. And since then, we've had the Iraq War, two of them. We've had Bosnia and other little minor skirmishes, which have all been abroad and in countries that have nothing to do with us. So you're effectively going to fight for another country's interests. But apart from that, the country itself, Great Britain, I mean, it's not a country, it's a collective, isn't it? But this island, is it worth joining the army or navy, air force and risking your life for? Especially the state it's in. And yes, the UK is in a bit of a state, and that's putting it mildly. And I'm going to give it from my own demographics point of view. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I did a video on my channel a few months ago, personally lining out the reasons why I would never join the army again. And the only valid reason I could come up with was the defence or protection of our own kids, our future. And the main problem are the people in charge here. They hate us. The BBC, for example. The British Broadcasting Corporation, they hate us. Our own politicians will sell us down the river. Now, considering people go to join the army for freedom and democracy, and yeah, I've known some guys who did actually do that. But when it came to Brexit, politicians, they completely ignored us, and we won that vote. Probably the biggest democratic vote this country has ever seen. And even though 17 odd million of us voted to leave the EU, the politicians didn't want to give us that. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we ever had Brexit. And we are 8 years later after the vote. So why would you join the army or the armed forces and risk your life to people who won't even implement what you vote? We are also bottom of the list for quite literally everything. From healthcare to social housing to benefits. You are the last person entitled to anything from which you have paid your taxes into. And then there's the Islamic vote. Now, this is an issue that's rapidly influencing our politics here. We have people in this country standing for election, not on local issues, and not for local people, but for Gaza. This country is, the infrastructure is collapsing. We cannot cope. There are many local issues that need addressing, and yet these people are putting Gaza and Palestine first. Why? What is Gaza to do with us? What has Gaza ever done for us? That place, what's happening there, has absolutely nothing to do with local issues, and it's rather a grievance that's been brought over from abroad as an excuse to garner a complete and utter takeover of this country's politics, and unfortunately I think it's working. And then we have the extreme right-wing indicators which the British Army are currently employing. And within it, it says if you are patriotic, if you're nationalistic, if you're proud of your country, then it means you're right-wing and you are to be reported to senior ranks and kicked out the army. So there we go. Those are just some of the issues which I've highlighted there for you as to why I would never allow my kids to do national service or to serve this country. And I suspect many of you would agree with me. There are probably a small, teeny tiny handful of people at the top of British society who also know this and understand this, but sadly their voices are also being stifled. And they know that they're not putting their people first, so there we go. Why should we? People getting arrested on the streets for waving the Union flag, for heaven's sake. Meanwhile, the Free Plasticine lot, they can wave terrorist flags, swastikas, shout anti-Jewish stuff, and they don't even get touched. Is that the kind of country you want to fight for? Not me, and certainly not my children. So there we go. And that's that. I'm Paz49. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, Roger Trout.